I'm talking about some big, common real estate investor mistakes that you must avoid today. Let's say you have a round-trip commute to a job. So you drive by this pretty nice-looking duplex twice a day. It's always looked nicely painted from the outside, nicely manicured. And one day, you see a for sale sign on this duplex. You contact an agent, you learn that the 2 tenant rent incomes in the duplex would pay that building's mortgage for you if you owned it. So therefore, your mortgage would get paid down while real estate generally appreciates over time. And you think, oh, this is probably worth you buying. I'll tell you what, you are setting yourself up for a life of misery and terrible real estate investing mistakes. More likely than not, let me show you why. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold. This is Get Rich Education. We're generally talking about rental property mistakes to avoid more so than those in a primary residence, though some do apply to both here. The property is only the fourth most important thing in real estate investing. Yeah, this duplex like we're talking about is not as important as some other things. Well, what's more important than the property? I think it's pretty natural to think about a property first. But the most important thing in this hierarchy and what's going to make this successful for you is what's important to you. You are the most important thing. What do you want this property to deliver? Do you want it to deliver long-term appreciation for you? Are you in this principally for the tax benefits? Or are you seeking positive cash flow where the monthly rent income exceeds all the monthly expenses, which can provide a nice residual income stream for you? Or are you looking for a property that's going to provide some sort of lifestyle payback to you, like maybe something you can use a few weeks of year in a resort destination and then rent out for the other ones? So number one is you. What do you want real estate to do for you? The second most important thing is the market that you invest in. Now, we're generally talking about geographic markets here, although you can think about it in a few ways. But yeah, the market is more important than the property. Hey, go ahead and put a YouTube like on this video if you would. That helps me show this video to more people. I'd rather have more people see this than fewer because I really think this one is going to help. These are the mistakes that you must avoid. Principally, you want to buy in a market where you have things like population growth, job growth, and wage growth. Because when you buy this property, understand that you're trying to secure an income stream here, and over the long term, your tenants are going to make that or break that income stream. So when you buy a duplex like this, yes, you're buying it for the tenants that you're inheriting that are already in there, but just as much, what you're doing is you're buying this property with a reasonable expectation that 18 months down the road, when one of these 2 tenants might vacate, that you would have that reasonable expectation that another tenant could come in there and pay the rent. So you want to have a diversification of jobs and employment sectors in a market and have that be fairly robust. And you can check on data like this through local resources or the U.S. Census Bureau for free, or neighborhoodscout.com is one resource where you can check on some of the more granular data like this. We're talking about the market being more important than the property. Generally, you want to be in those larger metros where you have more of a diversification of different industries. Just imagine if you bought property in this duplex we're in some little hodunk town of only 5,000 people far away from any metro area, and 1/4 of that town's employment were based on the tungsten mine. Well, now you're riding the fortunes of the tungsten mine and the volatility of that, and that could leave you in a precarious situation. You need incoming tenants that can pay the rent. The third most important thing to consider before you look at the property is the team of professionals that you surround yourself with, like that agent, and really long-term, that you're probably buying in a metro large enough where you could have a good property manager that could manage this property for you. Now, you might want to manage it in the beginning yourself to get a little bit of experience, but over the long term, do you really want to live the kind of life where you're adding rentals and all these tenants have your phone number? So it kind of begins with the end in mind. What do you want to get out of this? You probably want an improved quality of life from the income and the appreciation that it might bring, not 25 tenants that can text you about leaky faucets. And when you're in a larger market, market, you have a better chance to find that right property manager that can make this relatively passive for you over the long term. So after you, the market, and the team, the fourth most important thing, and only fourth, is the property. Now you can look at the property. And think about people that get this backwards. So many people, they buy a property, and then only after they bought the property, they figure out they don't like to manage it. So then they look for a manager, and then maybe they realize they can't find a good manager in that market, though they've already bought the property. And then after that, they try to figure out the vibrancy of the market that they bought in, and then it's just a total mess. So that's what's most important to you. It's you, the market, the team, then the property. Now, it seems like the answer to most every real estate question is it depends. Sometimes, even if a population is stable, it might still be a good market to buy a property in. Just say, for example, that the population isn't growing, it just stays stable, but there's not much building going on, and housing is wearing out at an obsolescence rate of, say, 1% per year, and it's being demolished. Well, then demand is actually going up, even if the population is the same, because the supply is going down. So there are some other factors here. Another thing to consider when we talk about how the market is more important than the property is it's really about the sub-market too. You might be in a metro area that's declining in population, but say this duplex is right across the street from the hospital. And in most metros, hospitals are expanding, they're growing, they're understaffed, we need more people and employment, and our population keeps aging. So if you're in a submarket of a hospital, even within a population that's contracting, well, you might benefit from the long-term durability and viability of the medical system. This duplex might still work out then. Hey, I love real estate investing. It's put me where I'm at, but you really need to be strategic about it. I'm not trying to discourage you from buying real estate. I'm just trying to tell you to be strategic about it. Real estate's made more ordinary people wealthy than anything else, but you can't just throw a dart at a board and pick a winner. You're probably going to lose if you try that spray and pray approach. Avoid overpaying. You want to make it cash flow. A loose guide is that years ago, say 10 years ago, you wanted to get about 1% in monthly rent amount based on the purchase price of the property. So say that both sides of this duplex rent for a total of $2,700. You wouldn't want to pay more than $270K for the property. But with today's low mortgage interest rates, about 0.8% in a rent-to-value ratio usually provides cash flow. That doesn't say anything about what the property taxes are in the area and so on, but that's about what you want to be paying. If you get a rent to price ratio of 0.8% or greater, you're doing really well. One huge mistake to avoid, and a lot of beginners overlook this, is you're going to have substantially more expenses than just the mortgage, principal, and interest. As you know, I like to use that acronym VIMTUM, V-I-M-T-U-M, vacancy, insurance, maintenance, taxes, utilities, and management. For vacancy, I usually like to say 8% of your annual rent is going to be lost to vacancy. That's about 1 month per year. Deduct that out. Property insurance, that's something that you can get a quote for. The third one, maintenance, that might be something like 10% of your rent amount is going to be lost to maintenance. It could surely be less than that if it's new construction. It could be more than that if it's an older property. The next one, property tax, often 1.25% per year of a property value is what one pays in property taxes. This can vary a lot. That's just a national average. For example, you might pay 3% in Texas. Then utility bills. Your utilities are going to be really low. If you have a single family rental home, you can outsource all the utility payments to the tenant, even the lawn care. Generally, the larger the apartment building is, the greater amount of utility payments that you're going to be burdened with, like natural gas and electricity and trash. And then the final one, property management, that's typically 8 to 10% of your rent amount. And you also have to pay a leasing fee on top of that, typically of 1/2 to 1 month's rent each time a new tenant is placed by that property manager, if you choose to use professional management. Another function of the market is the neighborhood that you're in. Is your neighborhood uptrending, or is it downtrending and deteriorating? Or is it crime-ridden? Is the crime trend higher or lower? Is it violent crime, or is it pretty petty crime, or what? These are important things to know. These are the mistakes that you must avoid. You got to put a like on avoiding mistakes. What school district you're in matters too, because you got to think about the tenants that are going to be there. You're going to be able to attract a tenant and retain them for longer, typically if you're in a better better school district. Hey, well, I like this. I think this brought up a lot of important things for you to consider, so I'm going to do another video on common real estate investor mistakes like this that you've got to avoid. When you subscribe to the channel, and I'd love to have you as a subscriber, please go ahead and hit the notification bell. That's how the sequel to this will get delivered to you. And go ahead and comment below. Let me know about any real estate investor mistakes that you've made. My name's Keith Weinhold. We'll see you in the next video.